Hey everybody, welcome to The Bottom Line. I'm Michael Noland. Tonight we're going to be talking about two classic rock album masterpieces by two legendary classic rock bands. Of course, I'm talking about Pink Floyd's wonderful Animals album versus Jethro Tull's equally magnificent Heavy Horses. All right, so before I get into the meat of tonight's video, I want to start right off by asking my question to the tribe. What do you all think of these two albums? Are they both in, say, your top 50 albums? Because if these albums are in anybody's top 50 list, when you consider the amount of albums, the albums that were presented to us during the classic rock era, that would make them both masterpieces, as I feel they are. And which of these two albums do you prefer? Now, I'm not asking you to vote on your favorite band here, folks. If you prefer Pink Floyd as a band, but between these two albums, you like Heavy Horses by Jethro Tull, then that's the vote I want. I want you to say Heavy Horses, Jethro Tull in the comments. Any other comments? Well, feel free to expound your wisdom upon me. Now, the reason I chose to make a video on these two albums is, well, they have a few things in common, don't they? First of all, both albums contain songs about animals. Not only that, but their traits, their idiosyncrasies, their habits, and their mannerisms, and how all those things relate to us as human beings. Add that to the fact that both albums were released right around the same time, within a year of each other, and both albums being recorded in facilities each band never recorded an album before. Ian Anderson had just put together and funded his own studio, and Heavy Horses was the first album Jethro Tull recorded in that studio. Pink Floyd, on the other hand, bought an entire block of church halls and converted that block of church halls into a recording studio. Add those similarities to the fact that both albums were either ranked very high or very low by critics and fans in general at the time, and that both bands were trying to do anything but be stale. They felt that a lot of bands had become dinosaurs, and they wanted both to be relevant. With Pink Floyd's Animals, we see Roger Waters' lyrics change really for the first time, concerning themselves with socio-political problems that were being experienced specifically in the UK during the 70s. Of course, this is the first album that Richard Wright gets no writing credit for. As a matter of fact, it's during this album where he finds himself to be eventually booted out of the band. David Gilmour, losing a bit of a step due to personal issues, only contributed as a co-writer on one song, Dogs. Live songs that were being worked out under titles like Raving and Drooling, You Gotta Be Crazy, were changed to Dogs and Sheep. As far as the general theme of the album, with animals representing people, the dogs representing those who prey on others, pigs who are ruthless folks, and of course, sheep. Gee, I wonder who that's supposed to be. But for an album that's about animals, and once you get past the analogies that the album is coming up with, the album also sounds very mechanized. Even the front cover. The animal on the cover is a plastic, blowed up, hot-aired pig. And directly underneath him, is the mechanized world of man. If this album isn't a freaking masterpiece, I don't know what is. Of course, with Heavy Horses by Jethro Tull, we get an album that is the second of a trilogy of albums. The first album was Songs from the Wood, then we have Heavy Horses, to be followed by Stormwatch. Now, Ian Anderson has always claimed that the songs from this album were inspired by the very animals that he lived with, because he was a farmer, a co-op farmer, or whatever he was, and that these songs represented some of the animals. His pet cat, for example, was the inspiration for The Mouse Police Never Sleeps. And Ian Anderson's approach to recording this album was completely different than that of Roger Waters with the Animals album. You see, Ian was occasionally open to co-writers and arrangers, and so other members of the band were all involved in the creation of the music on the album. Yet despite Ian's claims, if you listen to these songs, we can see the same result overall. It's his artistic approach that actually draws a comparison to Pink Floyd's Animals. For example, The Mouse Police Never Sleeps. The band's musical approach mimics that of a slinkering cat on the prowl for prey. It gives this song almost that same kind of mechanized feel that you hear on the Animals album by Pink Floyd. And both albums have songs about dogs. Take a listen to Rover. Only this dog isn't the predatory dog that we hear on Animals by Pink Floyd. This dog is the loyal dog, the dog that will do anything for you. And don't you just absolutely love folks like that? Ian Anderson specifically said that he could see new trends coming along. Now you got to understand, when Heavy Horses came out, it came out a year after Animals. So we're bumping up against the 80s, aren't we? And Ian Anderson remembers seeing that coming on the horizon, and he was bound and determined not to follow recent trends. As far as which album is the better album, you know what? That is an absolute coin toss for me, folks. It depends on what musical approach I'm interested in listening to, but both of these albums I play equally. If there is a slight nod for me in the Heavy Horses camp, it's only because Heavy Horses is part 2 of an amazing trilogy by Jethro Tull. All right, folks, that's the video for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. It's good to be back. A big thank you to all of you well-wishers out there and all of you channel members. Of course, you'll be seeing names underneath me right about now, and these are people who have joined the channel. Tier 1, you are absolutely a tribal elder. Tier 2, you become a tribal chieftain, and a lot's coming your way there. If you enjoyed tonight's video, please give it a thumbs up. That helps to get it into more home feeds. That way we get a few more views and the channel grows. People subscribe when you guys do that. If you enjoyed the video tonight, share it, please. When you folks share my videos, that's where I really see a nudge up in new subscribers. All right, I'm Michael Noland. This is The Bottom Line, but only as I see it. The real bottom line will be in the comments on this video. So read and peruse those, and you'll know the real opinion of the tribe. All right, once again, Michael Noland, and I'll see you in my next video.